We got cool jobs. We do cool things. Our work should be magical. Welcome to STEMdenity. I'm your host, Anna Hodshire. We work really hard and our jobs shouldn't suck. Let's dive in. Groundhog's Day. Just like Independence Day, it's a holiday and a movie. Now, if you haven't thought about Groundhog's Day, the holiday, or movie, in a while, or ever, don't worry. I'll get you caught up on both because it's a little bit relevant. More the movie than the holiday, but we might as well all be coming from the same place. So, for the holiday, according to one of the greatest sources of truth in the age of AI, aka a well-cited Wikipedia article, Groundhog Day is celebrated in both US and Canada on the February 2nd of each year. Now, I, as a side note, didn't know it was celebrated in Canada, so I thought that was fun. It comes from the Pennsylvania Dutch superstition that a groundhog emerges from its burrow on February 2nd and sees its shadow. It will go back to its den and winter continues for another 6 weeks. And if it does not see its shadow, in other words, it's cloudy out, spring's going to arrive early. So that's pretty exciting. And one of the most popular celebrations in the US is up in Puxatawney, Pennsylvania, where there is the Puxatawney Phil groundhog. So Puxatawney Phil is ceremoniously dragged out of whatever he's sleeping in on February 2nd at about 7:20 in the morning, held aloft and determined whether or not he sees his shadow or not. And then, it's proclaimed more winter or less winter is coming. And as another fun side fact, this is coming from German-speaking areas, so did come not from the US originally. And apparently in German area, badger was used as the forecasting animal. In Hungary, the bear was used as the forecasting animal, which I feel is a bit stressful, and presumably they were watching the bear, not dragging the bear out of its burrow. So perhaps, the groundhog was a good compromise in terms of things that hibernate, but will probably not kill you once you drag them out. Now, this holiday is, it's goofy. It's not particularly high up on the list of US holidays that are celebrated, but it's around. And for whatever reason, a movie was made out of it called also Groundhog's Day. So in Groundhog's Day, the movie, there is the actor Bill Murray plays the lead role of Phil Collins. So Phil Collins is a weather forecaster. And Phil Collins, sorry, not Phil Collins, that's a musician. Phil Connors is the name. Um, so Phil Connors is weatherman, and he has to go to Puxatawney, Pennsylvania to report on whether or not Puxatawney Phil sees his shadow. And Phil Connors, Bill Murray, is, he's a bit of a grumpy Gus. He is not amused that he has to go do this reporting assignment. He thinks it's stupid and ridiculous, and he has a bad attitude, and the reporting goes quite poorly, and he's just excited to get out of there and go back to wherever he's from. And there's a snowstorm that gets them snowed in and blah, blah, blah. And so Phil Connors wakes up the next morning back in Puxatawney, Pennsylvania, to the exact same music playing on the radio. And he's like, well, shit, this town is, they can't even get a new song for the radio. So he goes outside and he realizes, oh, it's not February 3rd, it's still February 2nd. And this happens over and over and over and over again. So Phil Connors gets stuck in a time loop. He relives the same day over and over and over again. And of course, it goes through the arc that you could expect out of this type of movie where first he's like, I'm going crazy. And then he's like, I could do whatever I want. And, he hits some point where he's like, I could just kill myself because I'm stuck in this. And literally nothing works. He just keeps waking up over and over and over and over again. And now I will put in some spoilers here, but the movie's been out for quite a long time. I think longer than I've been born. Oh, no, 1993. So 2 years younger than me. But it's been around long enough that I don't feel bad about spoiling it. So as a side note, there's another character, I think it is her producer, Andie MacDowell, the actress, and Phil Connors, he kind of has a little bit of a crush on her. She's cute, and eventually he really starts to fall for her, wants to get romantically involved, but well, let's be honest, his attitude is so shitty that she's like, yeah, no, thank you. So Phil goes through this glorious transformation time over time over time. He learns all these skills. He learns random languages. He learns how to play the piano fantastically. He learns ice sculpting. And by the end of the movie, he's become a completely different person through attitude changes and effort and doing not what he was doing every single day into this person that Andy McDowell's character can fall in love with by the end of one day. And when that happens, boom, the time loop is broken and he gets to go on to February 3rd. So that brings us to today, which is don't Groundhog Day yourself into oblivion in your career. Now, in fairness, in science, engineering, mathematics, etc., our jobs are usually pretty dynamic, right? Like if I look back at any given week, it does not look like the previous week. If I look back at any given day, there's not really a lot of commonality between one day and the previous day. I have a ton of different projects. I have a different ton of different obligations that I'm doing. So things are pretty dynamic. So in one sense, it's kind of hard to Groundhog Days ourselves into oblivion in our STEM careers. In another sense, it's really easy to Groundhog Day ourselves into oblivion in our STEM careers. And what do I mean by that? Well, just because I keep running into new situations, say it's a new project or a new client or a new proposal or a new paper that needs to be written or a new, set of data that needs to be scanned through, I can still choose or not choose to approach each quote unquote new thing the same way I approached the last thing that looked similar. So even though our jobs are really dynamic, our approach and our attitudes may not be. So let me give you an example. And I caught myself doing this last week, and I thought, okay, all right, this is ridiculous. I'm already thinking about doing an episode on Groundhog's Day. Don't Groundhog Day yourself into oblivion. And I'm doing it to myself. So I had a proposal call come up, and for those of you who write proposals, you'll immediately be like, yep, this sounds really familiar. And for those of you who don't, just as a kind of quick primer, what's happening is that most often there's someone, either it's the federal government or a company or some other client, wants some sort of work done, research, whatever, and they put out some sort of documents. These documents have very, different titles. Some of them are requests for proposals. Some of them are requests for quotes. Some of them are, I'm blanking on the other terms, but essentially there's a large set of different types of proposals that can be put out there. And you, the responder, needs to write something that is interesting and engaging and responds to what the proposal call is looking for. And these things always, 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 always are this ridiculous mad dash. I don't know why this has to be, but it is really rare for a proposal to be put out with enough time for you to maybe not casually, but calmly approach it and go, what an interesting proposal. I'm going to think about this for some time. I'm going to carefully gather a team around me of experts who are going to complement this work. I am going to structure my writing in this beautiful way. I have templates ready to go for every single piece of information they're looking for. These proposals always ask for large sets of information. Not only are they asking for what's your plan for how you're going to complete the work, they want things like your CV, your bio. That's, pretty standard. They always want a budget. The budget template is usually a little bit different from proposal to proposal. All these pieces, budget justification, and the pieces aren't necessarily just for the person who is going to give you the money in the long run, not the person, the entity, but they're also for, say, whatever entity you're working through. So for me, a university, for you, it could be your company, right? Your company is going to have its own structure in place that they want you to follow. So the dream is that a proposal would just be this smooth process with some predictability around more the paperwork end, which, let's be honest, most STEM people are not the best at paperwork, and I am like in the top 1% of very poor at paperwork. Just fucking hate it. Really bad. So it would be really nice if there was some predictability around, okay, here's all the things that are needed, here's the list, da 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 da. And I'm just going to calmly think about the science and take a little bit of time and come up with this really great, awesome proposal. That almost never happens. And for me, it literally has never happened. It's always, shit, there's like 4 weeks of work to be done and 2 weeks to do it in, or whatever the time frame is, right? So this last proposal, I was not the lead on it. A company kindly reached out to us and wanted us to be basically subawards, subcontractors, on the proposal. The proposal had already been out for a few weeks, but I had not been familiar with it. So here we are, a few weeks already passed. It's due at the end of the month. And it's just this mad dash. And I find myself on Wednesday of this week just so angry. I'd worked a 10-hour day, which is really long for me. I'm not a long hours worker. I become extremely inefficient after, well, after 8 hours and sometimes even before that. So I am upset. I'm angry. I'm angry at the company who asks us to be the subawards because I'm like, why can't they have given us, the list of the things they need? Why is there all this back and forth? Why did I have to write up stuff and then for them to come back and say, no, this isn't quite what we're looking for, and you need to change your budget because they didn't give us a budget number because they didn't know what the budget number was, and it's just da 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 da, right? It didn't need to be this way. I knew going in that it was going to be a bit of a mad dash. I could have set up better boundaries from the very beginning and say, hey, can you please, and I'm learning, right? So my learning from this experience was, hey, next time, can you please give us what you think you need from us in an easy to follow format? They did give us kind of what they needed from us, but it was a challenging to follow format for me, so it was inefficient. Give it to us in an easy following format. For this particular proposal call, this isn't usually the case, but there was no actual budget cap. This was a request for quotes, which means that we're basically bidding. We're saying, hey, we're going to do the work that you're asking for, and this is how much it's going to cost. That is tricky, right? It is really hard to figure out, like, okay, what's the right number? Do you undercut your bid a little bit to be more competitive? Do you bid it correctly? In other words, this is truly how much work we think it's going to take and hope for the best. These are hard decisions to make. And I found myself realizing and thinking, you know what, Anna? Yeah, I'm frustrated, but like the other people on the other side, the people asking us to do the work with them, they're people too. And it doesn't really matter that they're at a company, and I maybe would have thought that they were a little more efficient and effective than squirrely academics, right? I'm a squirrely academic. I'm like, yeah, okay. These people are going to be like on top of it. They weren't. It's okay. They're people too. We're all people just trying our best, and ultimately, the people reviewing this proposal are people trying their best, and the agency that's going to fund this proposal is composed of people trying their best. And if we are fortunate enough to get this project, it's going to be led by a bunch of people all just trying our goddamn best. And yeah, some things are going to happen, and it's going to be a little frustrating. But to come in with the same shit attitude that I've come in with to a bunch of other proposals last year means that I'm just miserable. All right. I Groundhog Day myself on this proposal call. I was pissed off and miserable this whole week because of this proposal, because I was stressed that it was in this rush and I didn't know what I was doing, and I felt insecure and frustrated at other people for not telling me what, to do and da da. I Groundhog Dayed myself. And I'm here to be like, you know what? I'm the first one to admit it's really easy to fall into this trap. Just because it's a new proposal, it's a different type of work that we haven't done before, doesn't mean that I didn't fall into the same little loop of emotions and attitude and reactions that I have fallen into before. So where do you feel like you're getting stuck in your day, right? Do you have projects that always go off the rails in basically the same way? Do you have difficult clients or collaborators and the difficulties are popping up in the same ways? Maybe it's, not setting the right boundaries or any boundaries. Maybe it's not clear communication from the beginning. Maybe it's things are going along totally fine until a road bump comes up and then it goes off the rails again. Are you finding yourself getting stuck on starting writing that paper or that grant? Do you find yourself right before you're going to give a talk? You're suddenly like your negative self-talk kicks in. You're like, "Oh, you're not very good at talks. You're not going to do very well. They're not interested in what you're going to say, right? Do you find that every time you go to check your email, you have the same emotional response of maybe a little bit of fear or anxiety or dread because your email inbox is overflowing, or you don't know what's going to be in there, or you know that there is that email that was hit your inbox 3 days ago from a person and you don't exactly know how to answer that email and it's stressing you out, right? Where are you getting stuck in your day to day? And where do you feel like Groundhog Day, aka Bill Murray style, is popping up? And where am I going with this, right? Why am I talking about this? I mean, it's useful to identify, right? Where are we getting stuck in these loops? But if we go a layer deeper, this podcast, to me at least, is about identity, right? STEM identity. And your identity is really tied up to your attitude. And you can't really shift your identity without, well, changing. And for me, when I think about identity, I don't think about identity as this, one big blob, right? I'm not the blob that is Anna. I am many, many little pieces that makes up Anna. A piece of me, piece of my identity, is a pretty good public speaker. Always striving to be better, but pretty good. A small piece of my identity is a all right musician who likes to make fun dance music. Sorry, I'm working on not insulting myself out loud. So I was going to say things like crappy dance music, but you know what? Perfectly fine dance music. No one wants to listen to it per se, and that's fine. I have a good time making that music. A small piece of my identity is, someone who has three cats and two dogs. By the way, this last week we were also dog watching an extra dog, and I'm going to go ahead and admit that three dogs and three cats was too much. I was slightly overcommitted on that one. We made it through. It was great. I was really happy to have that third dog. He's a dog that used to be mine and now lives with an ex. Fantastic to have him back for a bit. Still overcommitted. So, piece of my identity is someone who is willing to overcommit on, having too many animals because, well, it was a great opportunity to see my old dog. Right? So your identity is made up of all of these parts, and your parts are tied to your or tied to your attitude, excuse me. So where can we shift our attitude? And let's think about this sort of in the, way that our brains work. So you've probably all heard the term neural pathways, neuroplasticity, etc. So your neural pathways, right? There's these wiring. You've probably heard the phrase actually, neurons that wire together fire together, right? So we have neurons and we do something and the neurons have wired together. And then if we do that thing over and over and over and over again, okay, now they're firing, 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 firing. And just like literally everything else in the universe, the brain wants to follow the same energy pathways. So if you've set up an energy pathway that says, proposal hits my desk, I talk to the person that I'm going to work with, they don't seem to have a clear plan, and I'm going to start getting frustrated. Boom. All right, my brain's like, hey, I know this pathway. This is a great pathway. I don't have to try it all. We're just going to cruise down the slightly irritated proposal pathway, all aboard the proposal train. Bummer. However, we also have at our fingertips neuroplasticity. Now, I'm of an age where I believe that I remember, and I could be making this up, but I'm pretty confident that I remember hearing, maybe a decade or so ago, the kind of the common theme in neuroscience was that, kids are really neuroplastic, and then as we get older, our neuroplasticity decreases and decreases, and by the time we're adults, our brains can barely change. And, the older we get, the stiffer everything is, and we're basically just not neuroplastic anymore. And I remember hearing that and being like, shit, that is a bummer. Like, I would really like for my brain to be able to change. And I mean, I feel like I change sometimes, but I mean, all right, sure, maybe it's right. Great news. Nowadays, what I'm hearing when I tune into neuroscience is that neuroplasticity appears to be alive and well in adults, and we can change, right? We're changing all the time. So I choose to believe that, right? I'm not a neuroscientist. I might be wrong. Neuroscientists might be wrong, but I'm going to go ahead and lean into I know that I have changed. I know that I've changed a lot over those last few years. I know that I keep changing, and therefore neuroplasticity is real, or whatever it is, I can change. So we can change. And I think that's really important because we can't really grow without change, right? If we are doing the same thing over and over and over again, we're stuck in our little Groundhog Days loop. We're not growing, right? You watch Groundhog's Day with Bill Murray, and there's a solid, I don't know, 5 minutes or so where he's just not growing, right? I mean, it's accelerated, but it's like days and days and days and days, probably months and years. There's different analyses of the film, and the time span that this could have taken place over was potentially decades, right? It potentially took him decades to reach this like perfect, maybe not perfect, but ultimate version of himself that managed to escape the time loop. So we can't grow without change, but we have to make the choice to change. And choosing to change helps shape our identity, right? You're either a person who's like, I am who I am, or you're a person who's like, this is how I am now, and this is where I'm going. This is who I want to be, right? I want to be a person to whom, for whom the next proposal rolls around. And maybe it's not the next proposal, maybe it's three proposals down the road. And I'm excited. And I look at it and I go, "Oh yeah, okay, this is interesting and here's these pieces and here's who I'm partnering with. And hey partner, do you have kind of this set of things ready to go? Or if you don't, then like what's the plan? How are we gonna get that set of things ready to go? How can we set up the framework of this proposal really quickly and effectively in the beginning so that we can do the fun things of actually writing the proposal and getting the money rather than being stressed out every 2 hours because a new piece came through. Oh yeah, I need to do this piece now. I need to do this piece now. I need to do this piece now, right? That's who I want to be, right? Like a piece of my identity is like, yeah, enjoys proposals and doesn't get all wound up about it. So choices make our identity. Identity is intrinsically tied to our attitude. We can change, and we have to make the choice to change, right? It's just a big circle logic, frankly. So what's a good place to start, right? Now, I think noticing our attitudes is really important, right? Or noticing really where are we getting stuck? Is it our attitude? Is it our approach? Like maybe you're a data scientist and every few weeks you receive a new data set, but maybe every single time you are running it through the same core set of analyses. You're always using, say, Python, using the same Python packages. And maybe that's just kind of boring after a while. Maybe you enjoy that, and that's totally fine, but maybe you're kind of getting like, this is like, it's not really lighting me up. Okay, well, could you spend an hour one day and see where you could extend that analysis, like maybe you do this particular statistical package every single time, but there's something in the statistical package you've never looked at. And maybe your work is very client driven, right? And the client's like, I just want the same eight things out of you every single time. And all right, you know what? Sure. There's still ways to make your attitude and your approach a little more creative, a little more fun, not so stuck in its loop so that you can continue to grow and change because not growing and changing means your identity is just stuck. It's just not changing. Something I actually really like to do is try to start my days off with something that feels a little fresh. So I actually have a really maybe not complicated, we'll go with extensive. I have a fairly extensive morning routine that is mine, and I will admit that I get a little testy if it's interrupted. So, I could work on that. But I really do a lot of things that I feel ground me. In other words, make me feel connected and calm and centered. I do a lot of things that make me feel somewhat energized, like I have my exercise practice in the morning, dog walks, etc. And I do some meditation work as well. And these are all really important to me. But it all takes time, right? And if you're starting from, okay, I roll out of bed when the alarm goes off, and maybe I've hit snooze the same 3 times every single morning, or whatever that looks like for you, or you have kids or pets that kind of drag you out of bed perhaps earlier than you wanted to, your mornings might not really feel like your own, right? You're sort of hitting the ground, you're running, you're flustered, you're doing this and that. You're like, I know I need to be at work by like 9 a.m. and da, 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 I got to do all these things and eat breakfast. And, do I even have time for breakfast? Could you find a couple minutes for yourself in that morning? And could you start to make up a practice that settles you in to, okay, this is a new day. This day is not anyone else's day. I don't have to just spend my entire day subject to the whims of other people. I get to do some things that light me up. And that's really, really beautiful, right? Like just telling your system that, hey, like, yeah, I might have kids or clients or whatever it is that they like to take a lot of my time, but I'm still my own person and I'm still going to find a chance to do my own things throughout this day. Now you're priming your reticular activating system to say, hey, reticular activating system, brain filter that looks for the thing you tell it to look for. If you tell it specifically what to look for, hey, brain, where are some opportunities that I can take my time back for myself? I can take my time back to learn a new skill, to slightly improve on something that I'm doing, to take a new attitude towards something. So let me give you a couple of pretty simple, pretty short morning practices. And just listen, and maybe you can practice along if it's safe, right? If you're not driving or whatever, to a couple of these just to see how they feel. And then see which one feels really fun and sticky and charming to you. Like which one is like, yeah, okay, that I could do. So the first one is at some point in your morning, preferably as soon as possible. For me, I actually do this when I'm brushing my teeth. I'm always brushing my teeth in the morning, so it's already a habit that's there. No one else is bothering me. Sometimes my older cat is kind of wandering around at my feet, being like, "Mom, feed me, meow." But you know what? I just ignore her, whatever. So I'm brushing my teeth. So I just close my eyes and I take a breath and I remind myself that I am here and that I am safe. And then I ask myself a question. I wonder how today is going to surprise and delight me. I wonder how today is going to surprise and delight me. Why am I asking myself that question? There might be a part of you that's like, that's silly, but okay. Um, all right. Well, I'm priming my brain to say there's going to be something fun and that I didn't even expect coming in today. It's going to surprise and delight me. For example, today I'm recording this on a very cold Saturday. It's probably about 15 degrees Fahrenheit now, but this morning when it was about 4 degrees Fahrenheit, took the dogs for a walk, still have this extra dog, so three dogs, and it was very, very cold. But I found an old balaclava, which is one of those kind of face masky type things, and I put it on, and it stayed on my face really well and my face was really warm and I was really happy about that because yesterday I did not have a balaclava and I was outside and it was about the same temperature with a bit of a brisk wind and sleeting snow and every time we walked into the wind I was like I hate this walk, it's so cold. I'm fine, right? So it's simple, it's small, but it was delightful how much warmer and happier I was in my balaclava. Today surprised and delighted me because I was warm on my walk that I thought was going to be very cold. Okay, so that's one simple morning practice. Close your eyes, maybe when you're brushing your teeth, take a breath, feel your feet on the ground, take a moment to say, hey, I am safe, I am here, I am present. I wonder how today is going to surprise and delight me. And maybe you can even run a really quick mental movie of your day through your head while you're brushing your teeth, which I mean, we're all supposed to be doing for 2 minutes anyway. So you got 2 minutes to do this. You got plenty of time. Don't even sweat it. So, quick mental movie of your day. And let's say it's a work day and you've got 4 meetings and a bunch of emails and a project to work on. And you don't know what else is going to pop up. Instead of being like, oh crap, I've got 4 meetings and emails and a project. All right, I've got these meetings with clients. I wonder how that's going to go, or collaborators or students, whoever you're meeting with. I hope that meeting with my collaborator goes really well. I really like that person. I wonder how they're doing. I wonder what we're going to talk about today. I wonder, maybe I'm going to get through all my emails faster than I thought I would, and it's going to go really nicely, right? Like, imagine your day, but with this positive spin on it, right? Don't just be like, oh, all these things coming up. Like, oh, all these things coming up, right? Little shifts to your day. Another thing that I really like to do in the morning that takes almost no time, I promise you, almost no time. And you could do this like right after you finish this first morning practice if you wanted to just boom, slam it out for your whole day, is to choose a feeling for the day. And what do I mean by that? Well, there's all sorts of emotions that we can feel, right? And there's negative emotions or challenging. Well, there's the term negative emotion, right? And I work with a lot of coaches, and the coaches have helped me and therapists and such. And when I say coaches, it's sort of a broad category. This could be a quote unquote coach, it could be a therapist, whatever. Um, and what we've talked about is that perhaps negative emotions is it's putting a lot of weight on that, right? Instead, I'm trying to reframe to uncomfortable emotions, right? Uncomfortable emotions could be embarrassment, anger, shame, vulnerability, fear, right? These emotions are telling me something. If I'm afraid, It's probably because there's something to potentially be afraid of, right? So it's not a negative emotion. This informa emotion is information. It's just uncomfortable. All right. So uncomfortable emotions. And there's also comfortable emotions or positive emotions, emotions I would like to feel frequently throughout my day or all the time throughout my day. So in the morning, kind of ask myself, hey, like, what would you like to feel for the day? And I usually don't choose this until a little bit later in my morning. It's usually not until about an hour, hour and a half after I've been up. Like after I've done my workout, I've done a little meditation because often something kind of comes to me. But some days I wake up and I'm like, boom, I know exactly the feeling I want to feel. Let's roll with it. And I write it down. So I love physical calendars and I have physical calendars all over the house. I have at least four that I can think of. You may or may not have a physical calendar, but we all have smartphones. We all have calendars in our phone. You could write it there, especially if you're checking that calendar frequently and you're going to see that word. Just try to write it somewhere that you're going to see it. And I suggest that you write it in a fashion that indicates, hey, this is the feeling for today, right? So if you just have like a post-it note that you're kind of swapping out, hopefully that would work. But for me, it wouldn't work as well because that post-it note that I'm swapping out with a new emotion every day doesn't really tell me like, oh, this is the emotion for February 2nd. This is the emotion for February 3rd, etc. So that's why I like the calendar. But whatever works for you, right? Like a practice isn't yours until you make it yours, right? I can tell you to do things all day long, but it's not really going to help until you have embodied it into something that works for you. So, okay, side note. If you're listening to this and you're like, Anna, this is ridiculous. We can't just choose what emotion to feel. It's not like we're choosing our outfit for the day. Well, all right, fair. And also, do you have a playlist called something like depression playlist or let's get dancey playlist or, right? We all have songs, playlists, music that helps us put us in a different frame of mind or lean into a frame of mind, right? You got to cry it out, you go to your cry playlist. You want to dance it out, you go to your dance playlist. So I'm encouraging you to think, hey, you know what? Just like music can influence my emotion, my decisions, my choices can influence my emotions. And maybe it would be helpful for you to grab a song for your day that helps reflect that emotion you're really excited about. You want to feel fabulous? Maybe your song of the day is Good as Hell by Lizzo, right? There's ways to do this. Okay, carry on. Write this emotion down somewhere where you're going to see it somewhat frequently. I have a calendar in my bathroom area, so every time I go to the bathroom, I see the calendar and I'm like, ah, yes, okay, what was my word of the day? So I might have completely forgotten into 2 hours that today I wanted to feel confident, right? That was an emotion I chose for January 20th, for example. Might have totally forgotten that today was a day that I was going to feel confident, go to the bathroom, see it, and I'm like, oh yeah, confident. Okay, how could I feel confident in the next little bit? Have I felt confident in the last little bit? So I'm constantly checking in every single day. And yeah, some days I completely forget my emotion of the day. I don't look at the calendar. I'm like, nope. Or maybe I look at the calendar and I'm in a bad mood and I'm like, I don't care that today on January 21st, my calendar's in front of me, I chose to feel spectacular. I do not feel spectacular. I feel pissed. You know what? Fine. That happens someday. That's okay. Tomorrow's a new day. I'm going to reset, choose a new emotion, and try to carry it out. This is a little bit harder when I travel because I'm using a physical calendar. Sometimes I completely forget. But every time when I get back from travel, I actually go back to my calendar and I write out words in those days that I was traveling on to say, yeah, okay, you know what? I felt a little bit of a good push of vibrant on this particular travel day or expansive on this particular travel day, whatever it is. So I am still in that habit and I'm still showing up on my calendar every single day and saying, I choose this emotion. A couple other emotions, just in case you're like, I mean, I kind of get it, I kind of don't. Again, I'm looking at January, so I don't have other months to flip back to, but January 9th, I chose radiant. Isn't that nice? Radiant. I feel radiant today. For my word of the year, which I have chosen a word of the year, it is alive. And I chose alive because that really embodies a lot of different things that I want to feel. For me, feeling alive means joy, fun, gratitude, awe, delight, all of these positive things. So alive popped up at least 4 times I can see on this month. So I do repeat some emotions, but I'm not using the same emotion every day because if I use the same emotion every day, well, even if it's a positive one, I'm going to feel like I have just sort of wandered into Groundhog Days. So every day, different emotion from the previous day. I've got awe on there. I've got aligned. I've got grateful, generous. Ooh, this one I liked. Wildly self-honoring. I really enjoyed that one. Got to use that one more often. Let's say lit up and alive. Occasionally I choose two emotions. I'm feeling super sassy on those days. Right? So, two morning practices. Close your eyes, ground in, feel your feet on the ground while you're brushing your teeth. I wonder how today is going to surprise and delight me. And maybe, quick movie of your day in a positive light, or a quick movie of how you think your day is going to go, at least in a positive light, and then choose a feeling for your day and write it down. And then try to revisit throughout the day. What was my feeling for the day? Did I feel spectacular on this day? We'll see. In case you're wondering, today, January 24th, when I'm recording this, fabulous is my emotion of the day. And I feel fabulous right now. My hair is clean. It was very dirty before I took a shower this morning, so feeling fab. Okay, so this episode is all about Groundhog's Day, and let's not Groundhog's Day ourselves into oblivion. One more note I will make on this is that for me, a little bit of accountability goes a long way. So I find it incredibly helpful to work with others to make sure that I'm not Groundhog Daying myself into oblivion, or I'm not kind of either I'm ignoring how I'm sort of repeating something over and over and over again, and someone might be able to kind of point out like, hey, you're kind of repeating that over and over again. Or maybe I just feel stuck. I'm like, okay, I know I'm repeating this over and over again, but I don't know how to get myself out of this loop. And working with others really helps with that. So my team of coaches, either one-on-one things or group things that might not be specific to me, but still have a message that really resonates with me, or podcasts, books, all those good things, always helps with my self-accountability and kind of making sure that I'm catching myself in those little loops to say, nope, okay, this is a loop that I do not care for, right? Some loops are good. Some loops are fantastic. I want to brush my teeth every morning and every night. Let that loop never go away. But some loops are not positive. They're dragging my identity down. They make me feel like shit. Your loops that are not positive are probably making you feel like crap, making it harder for you to change and become the scientist, the engineer you want to become. So what's my learn and move your feet? And by the way, I haven't explained the learn and move your feet in a moment. So just as a quick reminder, right, I've blasted you with a bunch of ideas, a bunch of concepts throughout this podcast. And now if you were to walk away and recall just one thing or try out just one thing, you've learned some stuff and now you're taking action. You're moving your feet. So that's the learn and move your feet. So this week I'm going to suggest, but really whatever was charming to you, but my suggested learn and move your feet is one new practice you can take on first thing in the day to set yourself up for a slightly different day than yesterday, right? And I gave you a couple and I kind of blended them together in case you felt like the whole set was nice. And it was while you're brushing your teeth, close your eyes, take a breath, feel your feet on the ground, tell yourself you're safe, tell yourself you are here and present. Ask yourself, I wonder how today is going to surprise and delight me. Play that little movie in your mind of your day unfolding, of what you know is coming up, with this light of like, this could go really well. And then choose an emotion for the day. How do you want to feel? And write it down somewhere you're going to see it. So that's the whole set. But maybe you take literally one piece of that. Maybe it's writing down an emotion. Maybe it's just closing your eyes and taking a breath, or several deep breaths while you're brushing your teeth. Whatever tiny little thing you can do that just sets yourself up in a slightly new, positive, cheerful, sunny light. That's my suggestion for the learn and move your feet. Okay. Now, this was a lot. I haven't mentioned it in a little bit because frankly I keep forgetting, but I do show notes. You can grab the link in the the show notes for the podcast, which are just sort of a broad description, right? But I have succinct notes on, the main topics we hit on in the podcast. This is just held in a Google Doc that you can reference. I put all the learns and move your feet at the top of the Google Docs so that it's easy to find, so you can quickly review. You can be building on things, right? Most of us are not taking notes when we're listening to podcasts, but then we might think, shoot, there was something really useful in that podcast, but I didn't take a note on it and now I've forgotten it. I'm a note person. They really help me, so they might help you as well. Other things that might help you is that I also offer a little bit of one-on-one coaching. So if you're interested in working with me, you're like, yeah, okay, I can see that a team around me to help identify where am I getting stuck in those little time loops, where am I getting stuck in these loops, and how can I get out of these loops? Yeah, that could be helpful. I offer a free 30-minute intro work audit call. We'll meet, we'll talk, we'll discuss your things. I'm going to give you some useful actions right away so you can walk away and be like, okay, that was good. That was all I needed. Or maybe you decide I'd like a little more, so we can discuss those options. As a reminder, this podcast is not affiliated with my research and teaching roles at CSU, Colorado State University, but it's a part of my belief that we can all have jobs that we love, but there's so much shit in the way blocking us from loving our jobs, right? There's so many Groundhog Day time loops that we can just fall into without even realizing. Let's get out of them. If you love this episode, it means a lot to me if you share it with a friend, right? Let's get this word out to other people. You can subscribe on your podcast app, of course, to not miss another episode. Leaving a review is always helpful. I greatly appreciate it. The music is by XXSass on Instagram, link in the show notes. I am on Instagram at STEMidentity, link in the show notes. Feel free to reach out, chat, send me a DM if there's a topic you'd really like to hear about. All these links are in the show notes. And finally, to finish us off, of course, Song of the Week. So when I was making the show notes for this episode to keep myself on track, I opened up my Spotify and there was a suggestion of a new EP by Cat Power, who I was not very familiar with. I think I've heard the name, but, not familiar with, but I'm like, I like cats. Sure, let's try it. First song out the gate, 3-song EP, Redux EP was Try Me. So Try Me, I think the original is by James Brown. It's a classic. And her version was so gorgeous. It sort of hit that good soul, but a little bit on the new side. I mean, it's a 2-minute song. Her voice is fantastic. The vibes were there. I was like, hell yeah, this is great. I did not Groundhog Day myself into music that I've already listened to 5,000 times, even though I love certain music and I will listen to it 5,000 times. I tried something new, completely paid off. So Try Me by Cat Power. Fantastic song. Happy Groundhog's Day if you happen to be listening to this on the day itself. If you're not, this episode literally applies to any other time of life, any other day of the year. You know what? Let's just not Groundhog Day ourselves into oblivion. Let's find those places we're getting stuck and let's move through them. You rock. We'll talk next week.